Good morning, Joy Nook Book Club. And I am here today, this morning rather, with this book right here, Unmasked to Heal. And this is volume one. All right, look at that. This is an anthology. And this is actually our first anthology that we are actually having here in the club, in the book club. So, for those that don't know what an anthology is, let me talk about it a little bit, okay? An anthology is usually brought forth and birthed by a visionary, okay? And who we have today is Simene Walden, and she is the visionary of this powerful, powerful anthology. And an anthology can have stories of healing, of hope, of happiness. It could be just short stories, like, for children's books. Like an anthology is just brought together. It is, experiences, stories from other individuals. And sometimes they're authors, sometimes they're not. But usually that visionary has a vision. And instead of it being all about them, it's all about other people, and they support helping someone write what they are doing. They may do the publishing, they may do the editing, they may even help them with their title, with their concepts. So an anthology takes on, it's a lot of work, y'all. Okay, so you're getting not just one person's point of view, but you could be getting several. Some anthologies have sometimes 25 people, if not more. Some are a little bit smaller, but what happens is they give you a story that has a theme, and all the stories encompass this theme, and that's what the an anthology does. It brings forth and allows people to contribute to a body of that can impact other people, whether it's motivational, entertaining, or inspirational. Okay, so that's what an anthology is. And I am so excited that I have the opportunity, because this young lady right here that we are looking at, um, she referred another author to us. So she's doing things, that she owns this student teacher now. This thing, she is not playing with this writing. So you were already graced by a children's book author, and which was Janelle Palmer, and you were able to really enjoy her book. So imagine if she helped her, what you are getting with this, okay? With this. Y'all see I got my little notes and everything in here. But I'm not gonna hold us up, any longer, but I wanted to make sure that you truly understood what an anthology is, because it's important to understand that, so that when you purchase it, you're just not just purchasing one person's experience. You're purchasing, in this book, it is 5 different experiences that is going to take you through a healing process. And when you say unmask, I mean unmask. And it isn't just one type of experience. Healing is healing. And join the club, you know how I always say, no one, if you truly heal, no one can ever take that away. No matter where you go, who you're around, who you experience things with, they can't take it away. And this book truly takes you through it. So I want to read you just a snippet. And when I say a snippet of this young lady's bio, it's a snippet, because I'm going to put all of it in the description box, and everything that you need to know, because this isn't just her first rodeo, y'all. Okay? All right? This ain't her first rodeo. When I finished reading it, I saw all these other books and things that she additional, that's what she put it in there, additional books. And she said, put it in there so humbly, okay? Additional books. I was like, oh, she is not playing names, okay? So let me get into the bio so that we can get into dropping the mic to Simene Walden. Simene is a teacher, coach, writer, international speaker and trainer, and an Amazon best-selling author. She believes in being teachable and remains in a posture of learning, even from those one may not think has anything to offer. Simene believes that everyone has something to offer. Simene's primary objective is to empower, educate, and equip others as she teaches them everything she has learned. And it is with great pleasure this morning that I drop the mic to our author spotlight for today, Simene Walden.
Wow. Thank you so much, Miss Elena, for the just the opportunity to be on. Like, wow. Wow. So thank you again, and to all of you who are watching this live now, and those of you who will catch this replay after it's been posted. God bless you, and thank you for taking the time to listen to us. And one thing that Miss Elena said is that once you get healed, and I've never heard anybody say that before. Once you get healed, nobody can take that away from you, and I totally agree with that. Once you get healed, nobody can take that away from you because you have done the work. You know your own pain, you know your own trauma, and you know the process and the level of healing that you needed. And we can all go through the same exact situations, but nobody responds the same exact way. And so your healing is your healing, and the way you get to it, the process that you take is yours. And so on it. Don't allow shame and guilt and what people are going to think to help you. One of the things that I now tell people that I don't always often put in my bio is that I'm a recovering people pleaser. I used to worry about what people thought and what people would say. And the truth of the matter is, everybody's going to have an opinion, whether you like it or not. It may not always be favorable, but everybody's going to have an opinion, and everybody's entitled to that. And so when I decided that I wanted to unmask my story in this book, I was thinking about all the opinions that people had and what people would say and what people would think. And I thought, you know what, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because I was the one that was suffering. I was the one that was going through these situations. And one thing that I know is that you can tell your story without defaming other people. A lot of times people stay silent because other people are involved in their story and they don't want to put the spotlight on somebody else. But you can tell your story without defaming somebody else. I always say this, you know, growing up, it was like a unspoken rule, but what happened in the house stayed in the house. What happened in your family stayed in the family. When actuality, it doesn't. It goes everywhere you go. Every single place you go, it goes because it happened to you. So you take the trauma, you take the pain, you take all the hurt, you take all the shame in all these other places. And then we start becoming recyclers of the things and the trauma that was done to us. And so initially Unmasked, it was just simply Unmasked. I remember it was in 2017, 2018, I came on Facebook Live on a January, and I had on a reflectors jacket. I used to do parking lot ministry in the church when I first moved to Maryland, and they gave us these reflector jackets so you could see us in the parking lot. And one day I came on and I was sharing how, you know, a lot of people have on these reflector jackets, but people look past, they only see our face, our appearance, and they look past the fact that we're hurting, that we're crying out. We have on these life jackets. We're crying out for help, but people overlook it because we don't look like we need it. We're not coming out and saying it specifically, but our action and the ways, things that we're doing shows that we really need some answers. And so it was a Facebook Live that turned into an event, and it was just called Unmasked. I was talking about taking off the mask long before we were wearing masks, long before there was a pandemic. I was talking about unmasking. So I had on this reflector jacket and I had on a mask, and I did the Facebook Lives about 15, 20 minutes. And then in November, it transpired into an event. It started off was going to be just 5 women sharing their stories. Going to be women from the Maryland, DC area, because I'm from North Carolina. And by the time November came, it was about 11 speakers, and God really moved that day. And so after that event, I was like, well, it got to be more. You know, the Lord is saying there has to be more. And so the book anthology is called Unmasked. And one of the authors in here, Her name is Krista Rivera. She contacted me on social media. And she was like, hey, I would love to be your speaker at one of your events, because she saw the event. And I said, well, that's not exactly how it works. You know, God always leads me to the right people. She's like, oh, okay. But she was familiar with one of the other ladies in the part of Anthology. Her name is Kim Johnson. And so I circled back around to her a little later, and I was like, hey, if you're still interested to be a part of this book anthology I have, you can. She said, okay. She was the first one to sign up. And she says, well, if nobody else signs up, I'm going to be a part. And I say, let's do it. And one by one, those ladies start coming. Two of them were at the event. One of them lived in Missouri, but I was in another program with her. And so all of these ladies were women who had seen me online or seen me in person. It was like, I want to connect. And after talking to them, it's like, I think these women are going to be it. And I always tell people, women 50 and older love me and I love them. So all of these women were 50 and older. And then you had me. And two of them now are in their 60s, still looking flawless as ever. And so that's how the book came to be. And when everybody sent in their chapters, I myself was in awe. And I had a mentor at the time, and she was like, I know the book is called Unmasked, but what are you unmasking to do? She's like, you just don't unmask. Like, there has to be something more to it. And I was like, they're unmasking to heal. And so that's how the book came to be. As we share our stories, we are healing. The more you share your story, you are healing. So I'm going to read you a quick chapter from my part of the book. And these women, since this book, today is Kim's birthday, actually. Well, yeah, today is Kim's birthday. And not too long ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, she lost her one and only son. Miss Cynthia, another author in the book, she lost her sister unexpectedly last year. And she asked me to be the officiator for that ceremony. Miss Crystal has her life is flourishing, and Miss Roberta has, she has unmasked even the more. And so it's not just a one-time event when you unmask to heal. It's not just a one-time event when you open your mouth and you share your story, but it's ongoing things. And if we don't release the things of the past, when the present comes knocking, it becomes overwhelming to us. If we don't release the things of the past, the next thing that happen, it becomes overwhelming, and it will take us out. And a lot of people, some of you that are watching even now, some of the things that other people that really took other people out, you're still standing. Some of the things that happened to you in your life where you didn't know how you was going to make it, you are yet still standing. And so I say unmask to heal, to tell your own story, because there's three things going to happen with your story. You're going to tell it, somebody else is going to tell it, and they'll never tell it the way you do, or you will take it to your grave. And my mom told me this one time. She says, baby, you say and do what God tells you to do, because some people take their secrets to the grave. May we never take our secrets to the grave. May we truly unmask to heal, and we unmask so our families can be free. So here is a chapter in my book. I have had to really work through my issues to get to the root of the problem. The only way I'm still standing is because God keeps holding me up. Bloody, bruised, and beat down, God has held Simene up. With the help of a pastor who prays for me and teaches me how to pray for myself, my accountability partners, the therapy sessions I participate in, the continued counsel from my spiritual mother, plus my own desire to surrender all, I have progressed at a rapid rate. The third lesson in all of this is, no matter how many times you fall, get back up. Believe in what God believes for you, and listen to those who sends your way. Listen to those he sends your way to walk you through your mess. Discipleship, mentoring, and accountability, it can be messy. You must be honest about where you are so you can get the help you need in those areas. And I want to read that again. Discipleship, mentoring, and accountability can be messy. When we're in mess, it gets messy when we're trying to get out. When we're in mess, it's messy while we're in it. And so when you get people that is willing to walk alongside of you, if you're the person that somebody wants you to walk alongside of them, just know it's not all going to be good, because people have issues, people have trauma, people have pain, and they act out based on the pain that they've experienced. So it can be messy, but I believe God has built us for it. I was emotionally in bondage to this woman who was the epitome of what I thought a woman should be for years. This year, I was set free emotionally when I began to see myself as the woman I always wanted to be. I realized that it was me who I've been searching for, since the 8th grade. And there's a part in here that I talk about the trauma that I first experienced in 8th grade. The rejected little girl was looking for wholeness and acceptance. When the scales and deception came off of my heart, that's where your mind, your will, and your emotions lead on the seat of your heart. The heart is made for believing. We can believe right or we can believe wrong. Jeremiah says that the heart is desperately wicked above all. Who can know it? God knows the wickedness and this desperateness of our hearts. I realized this last relationship was leading me to hell, and the woman who would lead myself there too. Talk about a reality check. I had to really come to the realization that the spirits that attracted us to one another's final destination was hell. And a lot of people don't talk about that because we serve a loving and forgiving God, and He is. But we have two choices. Despite how much I wanted to be with her and how much I desire her in my mind, we were not good for one another. The fourth lesson here: watch out for cycles and lapses in time. Then make sure you guard those entrances to your heart by blocking all access when it shows up. It's not if it will show up, but when it shows up. In addition to that, at some point in our lives, we have to decide between what God says and what we will do. At some point in our lives, we have to decide between what God says and what we're going to do. I had to decide I would do what God says regardless of how I feel until those feelings align with His plans and word for my life. I encourage you to do the same. Be honest about where you are, find wise counsel, and do the work. I applaud you for reading this book as this is the next step. You would need to unmute so you too can heal. So for those of you who are not necessarily reading but listening, I applaud you for listening even to this part. I pulled off the band-aid of my suppressed pain of rejection so I could stop bleeding. Jesus already bled enough on the cross. He receives us, and He will align us with those who will also receive us with no hidden agendas and no dirty motives. It is time to now live and live abundantly in our souls and in our savings accounts. Say, pain, pay me. For every struggle, for every disappointment, for every pain you have ever experienced, it's time for your pain to pay you restitution. Tell your story. Open your mouth and tell your story. I'll be waiting to hear how you too have unmasked to heal. Thank you guys for listening.
Woo! I was over here. You just don't know. I was backstage having my own church. I'm not gonna lie. Oh my goodness, you could just took it. I would let you just go, okay? Because you were saying it. I mean, oh my gracious, oh my gracious, y'all! I got chills. Y'all know what happens when Allenia get chills. I tell y'all, when I get chills, this means it's gonna be a good interview. And I'm telling you, I had chills from the first time I said when I waved to her backstage. Okay. So, oh my gracious. You said some stuff, okay? And I want to go ahead and unpack it a little bit, okay? Unpack it. So, when putting this together, there's a couple of things that I am going to read, but it's from what others wrote. So, I want to unpack yours and then kind of move over. So, you were saying, which I'm so glad you went into that. You were saying that that this was an event at first.
Mm-hmm.
So you never even thought of it being a book.
Nope. It was a Facebook Live at first that turned into an event.
That turned into an event that turned into a book.
Yep.
Look at that. When you think nobody is paying attention, right? Mm-hmm. When you think no one's paying attention, they're paying attention. Mm-hmm. And then when you changed it to Unmasked to Heal, the title was changed after everyone had written what they wrote, right? Yep. Or was it changed before?
It was changed after we had started sending in our first copies, because the event itself was called Unmasked. And right. Then the book, it was called Unmasked. So after they sent in their first edits, I said, guys, I think we're going to change it to Unmasked to Heal. And they said, okay.
And it all fit. Mm-hmm. Isn't that how God works things out? Mm-hmm. Nothing's hard. Not at all. Like, we make it hard.
Mhm. Mhm.
But God doesn't make it hard. And that title, because you knew you wouldn't be pulling back. Like, y'all know, like an onion, you had the onion, you cut it up, and then you start crying. And then, like, eyes, if you wipe it with the wrong thing, right? You still cry, but you want those onions on that steak, or in whatever it is that you're fixing. And
Mhm.
that's how I felt when I was reading the book. I
Wow.
felt like I was pulling these layers. And as soon as I thought that one layer was done,
Yeah.
it wasn't. And was that the intent when you started editing and publishing all of the writings? Was that your intent?
That necessarily wasn't my intent, but I tried to be strategic in the order
Okay,
in which I put the stories.
gotcha. Gotcha. And I noticed that some that they started off a lot of times when you were young.
Yep.
So was that also part of the process for the anthology, putting it together, or did it just fall in line?
If I told them to tell your story, however God gives it to you, and
Okay.
that's where they all started from.
Oh my
For a
goodness.
lot of them, most of the women who work with me, they've never shared their story, and for whatever reason, God has given me a grace to carry people's stories. And for these women, they had never shared these stories, and
Mm-hmm.
it was all this suppressed pain that started
Yeah.
in their childhood that they never was ready to talk about.
Mm. Oh my gracious. Y'all, she took me from like to crying to, oh no, like, y'all, I was holding my heart. I finished the book in a day. Really, and I can't even say it was a day. It actually was just a couple of hours. I actually read it, and I kept utilizing. And this is the thing. She sent this with her book, and this is what I was using as a bookmarker. And I kid you not, this represents this book. And she doesn't even realize how much it represents the book, even though it may not have been something that she was looking at for it to, but because of the fact that you have to heal your heart.
Yeah.
You have to heal your heart, and the healing. And you know, when you were writing this, what was the hardest part of writing your chapter?
Really telling it from a very vulnerable place. Really, it was
Mm,
like really sharing my heart in these
yeah,
moments where I
yeah.
felt so vulnerable and I felt so naked and I felt like,
Mm,
why do I even feel like I want to write this where people can I can sell somebody something, but this is gonna be a book that you gonna say, girl, you wrote this. And
mhm.
after a while I said, I'll do it.
Right. Did you have any did you have any moments of feeling a bit of pullback, like, I should not share that? Because y'all, I'm not telling y'all about the chapter, because I'm telling you, you need to read it. So that's why I'm scaving past some things and just kind of touching little bits of it.
Probably my whole chapter plus more that's not there, what
Okay.
I had reservations about it, because a lot of times when you really do tell your authentic story and where you currently are,
Mm-hmm.
who will judge you. And if you ever say that you know you love the Lord or you're walking with him or you're changed, sometimes people don't forgive you, but God does, and they
Mm-hmm.
still hold on to stuff that you
Oh
did
yeah.
when he's already forgave you. And then some
Mm-hmm.
people get you in a whole different way, like, wow, I didn't know she did that or he did that. And so now it's like they don't even feel like they can trust you with something, or
Mm-hmm.
around them, they're kind of suspect of you. And so
Yeah.
I had a lot of reservations at first, but then I was like, you know what, I'm not this person. And those who come alongside my journey, those who've been alongside my journey, they see how I've changed. And so you either gonna miss out, or you gonna be thankful that you stayed and
There
just,
you go.
this is really what God did in my life.
Mm-hmm. I love that because in the process of healing, you have to surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah.
And and even with healing, you still lose.
Mm-hmm.
You still lose. And you hit on something that I was going to ask. Um, is there more?
Mm-hmm.
Is there more?
There's a lot more. And I wasn't quite sure the chapter that I was going to read, but even today, reading that, it was like, there's more. There's still more healing
Mm-hmm.
that I need to go to, because sometimes, when I talked about like accountability works in
Mm-hmm.
certain areas, I don't have accountability like I used to have accountability. And I realized I still need it. Even though I'm not in those situations,
Right.
I'm one mistake away. I'm one thought away. I'm one decision away from saying, you know
Mm-hmm.
what, I can just go and do whatever I want to do. But
Right.
I know I need it. So yeah, there's definitely more. After this one, after this volume came out, last year we did a book. It was called Unmute Yourself. And I told more of my story. And so
Mm.
we're going to do volume 2 to now I'm combining these two books. So it's called Unmasked and Unmuted, Destroying Lies and Resetting Legacy, where
Ooh.
I'll also be sharing more of my story.
Oh. Oh. Y'all saw the face I made, right? Because I'm telling you. Oh, I'm telling you. Because I was just like, this right here. When she was writing her chapter, if the visionary wrote her chapter like that, I was like, let me go back and read the rest of this book. Because initially, and I'm gonna say, initially I was like, okay, it's an anthology. I'm interviewing,
Mhm.
Simene. So let me read her chapter, prepare myself. And it
Mhm.
was like, no.
Wow.
Exactly like that. That's y'all know I hear my own voice because the Lord said you ain't gonna hear nobody else's voice but yourself. So I said, no, Aline, you need to go back and read it. You need to go back and read the book, okay? And when I was reading the book, and I wanted to read this, there's a couple of little bits that I want to read. But it says here, and this was from Cynthia Rose. So her chapter is It's Not About Me, y'all,
Mhm.
okay? And it says, my hope is that my story will inspire, encourage, and motivate you to seek out the help that you need to begin unmasking your pain and healing your past. Furthermore, I pray that it will reflect some commonalities to ensure you that you are not alone in your situation.
Yeah.
You are loved and you are capable of loving. Your God given gifts and treasures are waiting to break free. And then she goes into Jeremiah 29 and 11, the amplified version. And when I read that, I was like, she set us up, y'all. So when you said you were very intentional about how you place things. She said, if I would have never went back to read the whole book for its entirety, the visionary did not put herself in the beginning. She put herself at the end. Most anthologies, a lot of the authors put themselves in the beginning. I understand why. I do. What made you decide to put yourself at the end? Because that right there was, I said, I done messed my own self up. I should have read that, then walked through this. So, what made you put yourself at the end of this anthology?
Well, it's a couple things. Whenever you do anthology, usually the visionary, the visionary does most of the work and putting things together. But I always
Mm-hmm.
want people to know that when you work with me, that I see you, that I hear,
Mm,
and that's just stories is important. That I've been sharing my story, and while my story is important, I want you to know that I take preeminence over you put having your story before mine. Because if I'm selling the book, or if you see my name up there, my people, they want to read it for,
right.
read my chapter. But I want to make sure to say, hey, make sure you read this first. Go make sure you hit them first.
Mm,
I just want to make sure that they were put in the forefront, so it wasn't seeming like they're coming behind Simene, because we walking this thing together. So I want
right.
them to know that.
Oh, that I told you I had questions. And which, like I said to I was saying in the beginning with anthologies, you know what I get it. I
Mhm.
get why the visionaries first, but I picked that out like that because I was looking, and I literally, when I first picked up the book, I went to the front of the book,
Mhm.
like I'm gonna read it, and I'm gonna read her chapter, and then I was like, wait a minute, where is she? I went all the way to the back of the book. What? But I just loved that you did that. Couple of other things that you did in the book that I really, really liked was you put additional um information, right? You had additional things that that the reader could you ask questions. And what made you put this additional information in the back? Because it became not just an anthology, but almost like a you could use this in a workshop.
Mhm. So we wanted it to be something where people could actually work through it, like
Mm,
that you work through. You have questions that you ask, and for some people, because you have to know your audience. Some people don't read big long books, right? Some people don't read a whole lot. Some people will only read just your chapter, and so we wanted to make sure it was thought provoking. And even if didn't write something out, you can have this question that you can go and say, go and read and just think to yourself. And then, in addition to the other resources, one of the things I asked the ladies, I said, please share the resources that helped you get to your
yes.
healing point. What was songs? What was music? What was people? Were there other books that you read? That
Hmm.
way, this can be a resource guide to other people. Because after they read the story, then what? Right? They can
Right.
contact you, but then what are some other ways they can go about? Because what I know is, like, especially with shame and you're not telling your story. Sometimes people don't want to say, "Hey, I need help at XYZ." But if you put
Mhm.
the resource and the tools out there, they can go and read up about this situation,
Right.
that situation, until they get enough
Right.
courage to say, I'm gonna tell my story.
Right. Right. No, when I saw, I was like, wait a minute. There's more. And y'all, let me tell you something. She didn't stop there. She left you lines so you can write down stuff. I mean, yo, it's just, I was just like, oh my goodness. So you got it right in your hands. So if if a story resonates with you and it stirs your soul, that's how I put it.
Mhm.
Um, you could make note. I mean, even though I have bent pages, because y'all know join Nook Club that I'll bend a page quick because I'm coming back to it.
Yeah.
Okay, and or I had my little highlighter post-its all in my books. So
Mhm.
then when somebody wants to borrow my book, they're like, can I do I leave that? I'm like, yeah, you gonna leave that because I need to come back to that.
I love
But
that.
I really did. I liked how you laid that out and given those recommendations.
Mhm.
I really the resource section that and sometimes when you're talking you're like trying to think of the word and I'm like, I mean, you know what the word is? It's resource section. It's like, come on now, easy word. I forgot, I got all excited. Simone, I got excited a little
It's
bit.
okay.
I did. So one of also when y'all were putting this together, um all of it when reading through,
Mhm.
everyone has their faith walk, right?
Mhm.
So for my audience, Are y'all in different faiths? Are y'all in the same faith?
So I believe that we're all in the same faith. I think
Mhm.
how we've all grown up in the different denominations are different, but I
Yeah.
believe we have the same faith.
Yeah. And that's what I did get, that that correlation,
Mhm.
coming through,
Mhm.
but I was just like, I'm going to still ask.
Yeah.
Ask the question, where we're going. And then so when so after um not after. I don't want to do the after question yet. During the process of pulling the pulling the authors, receiving their first drafts,
Mhm.
what was the most challenging that you faced being a visionary of an anthology? What was, one of the biggest challenges that you had?
One of the biggest challenges was just making sure that we stuck to our timetable,
Mm,
because I was still teaching. I was a full-time teacher at the time, and so some of the things I had to outsource to other people, and it took longer than I thought to get the first edits back. And then with Miss Cynthia's chapter, she actually wrote a whole letter while she was in therapy to her stepfather, that kind of got chopped up, and
hmm.
so our resolve to that is Miss Cynthia is working on her own ebook, where that's going to be one of the things that's in the story,
Mm,
the fullness of the story. But that was the biggest one, is just making sure that we met our deadlines, and to get our books, because Miss Elena, um, we had one date set in place and it got
right.
moved, and so we finally did it on Labor Day weekend 2018, I believe. And I ordered books. The books came, but the books went to the wrong address. And so we had a book launch with no books. And my whole
Woo.
message was, when I was calling them, the thing says return to sender. And my whole message to them that night was return to sender. Everything that God didn't send you, return to sender.
Mhm.
Because while we want to have these books here for you guys tonight, we don't. But the
Right.
message still stands. And I want y'all to know, return to sender. And when you finally get the book, you're going to have it and you'll be able to read it and appreciate it. And so those timetables were big for me. And that day I was very flustered. I was very like, oh my gosh. And the women, Miss Crystal lived in Virginia.
Mhm.
Miss Cynthia lives in DC. I'm in Maryland. Miss Roberta is in Missouri. And then Kim was in Virginia, but she was traveling. So it was only us three here. But they were so supportive. They was like, don't worry about it. When it's coming, it's coming. I was like,
Come.
well, we're
Mhm.
here. It went to the wrong address. I don't know what happened. So, yeah, but making sure those timetables were there, and then just being real honest and transparent with the people, with the
Mhm.
women, to let them know, hey, this is what happened. Part of that was my fault. Part of that was, the person I had working with me that didn't meet the deadline that they told me. So it kind of pushed
Right.
everything back. And even when I did rush shipping, there was things that happened, but I owned that and I made sure that they knew
Mhm.
that. And I was very apologetic from it. And it
Right.
still was everything that it needed to be that night.
Right. And that's something. Joy Nook Club. I just want y'all to understand the scope of what she's saying. Okay. She is at her launch. People are like, I came to get my book.
Mhm.
And she's saying, yo, that little
Right.
book, because it was sent to the wrong place. But she was able to utilize that, which other people would find that as a huge negative, and turn it into
Mhm.
a message. And that's the one thing that I encourage my clients that I coach,
Mhm.
and the Joy Nook Club. I encourage them that everything is for a reason, and live through that reason
That's
so
good.
that you can learn your lesson,
That's good.
right?
Mhm.
Because I always say it's a reason or a season.
Mhm.
It's always a reason. Things are for a season, but everything's for a reason. And if it happens and you get a message out of it, God can't do nothing else but bless it. And it's like, oh, okay, well, here's your books. Now go get the sales, get your what you nots and things. But no, I found that beautiful. And even though it was a very simple question, look what we got from it. Like
Yeah.
we didn't know that,
Yeah.
because I can honestly say something similar happened when I did my book launch,
Mhm.
and and my folks just don't understand this. You travail,
Yeah.
because you done put your heart, sweat, time.
Mhm.
You have put so much into it, and
Mhm.
then for that one thing to go wrong, it just flips your whole
It
your
does.
whole soul. It just flips your whole soul. And I understand, and I thank God that you got the reason out of what occurred. I really, and that just blessed my heart, because then I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one that had issues like that.
You're definitely not.
I'm like, my husband was praying before he went to work. He said, Lord, forgive her for anything she gonna say to you because she mad. Because
Oh my
I
God.
was hot, and he knows how I am. Lord knows. Lord be like, go on, say what you want to say.
Yeah.
Because I was mad.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad you did. You were able to take a message out of that. And once, after your book launch, and now you have volume one, what has been one of the most impactful responses from your book that you can recall? Because I know you probably have a lot. Because I'm sure I'm not the only one that was like a blah 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 blah.
Um, One of the most impactful responses is from my mom. Once she
Mm,
um start listening to me more, speaking and stuff on Facebook Live, and I did a book launch in North Carolina. She was there. She's been and heard me speak a few times. She said to me one day, she says, she called me on the phone. She was kind of making like a joke. She left a message like, this is student teacher number 2. I'm trying to reach student teacher number 1. And one day she told me, she says, I learned so much from you. And she says, you're like teaching me. And it's like, what? I was never thinking I was teaching my mom, but
mm-hmm.
she she receives and she listens, and she'll say stuff to me like, um, or she'll say, well, why didn't you tell me that you was going through that? Or, I'm so sorry that
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't there. And it's like, Mom,
Right, right.
I don't think you were supposed to be there. I had to go through
Mm-hmm.
these things. And so for her to say that she listens, and she's like a student teacher number 2,
Yeah,
listening to what I'm saying, and making changes in her own life that I see evident, it's like, wow, Lord, if I can reach that, some people say, just reach one person. If that one person has been my mom, that has been enough, because we didn't always have a really good relationship. And so
right.
this has just solidified us to be even closer as mother and daughter.
Mm, Mamas do that to you, don't they?
They do.
They do. They get you. They get you because they get into a different season, and that season is for a reason,
Mhm. Yeah.
because it does come to a point where the tables are turned a little bit, where we do become the teachers. And I'm seeing that, and I feel so, like, when I see my mother responding in my Facebook group, and
Mhm.
everybody just loving on her, but she
Yeah.
just, like, she had to learn Facebook.
Yeah.
She had to learn how to make the comments, and she had to learn all those things. She had to learn how to get on YouTube. So, you know I can understand where you're at with that. It's just like, and for her to say, "Oh my goodness, daughter, I love when you did da, 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 da," it makes you feel like, "Oh my goodness, I'm teaching my mother. She's not just teaching me."
Right.
So I'm with you on that, right?
Yep.
I'm completely with you. I think that is beautiful. And I know for myself, when I was reading this, I got a little something from every single woman that wrote in your book. And I think they were so transparent. And I contribute that not only from their willingness, but from the visionaries' willingness to accept what they are writing. You know, yes, she had to do the edits and things like that during Nook Club, but it says a lot to be able to read someone's work and be like, this is it. We're gonna go ahead and do the proofreading, do the editing that you're supposed to, you know, and like you said, you had to chop up some things, right? But then that birthed something else.
Yep.
See,
Yep.
it was for a reason. It
Mhm.
was a reason why she wrote it. And then now she's going to do an ebook.
Yep.
Look at God.
Yep.
I mean, you just being a blessing all the way around. I mean, that's how I look at it. I mean, I'm just sitting up there going, y'all, we're going to see a lot more for some of these other writers.
Yeah.
I really believe it.
For
Because
sure.
when reading that, I'm like, she got more. I'm like, that one got more.
Mhm.
That one got a whole lot more too. Like I was saying that, and I was just like, but what gave you the most joy out of putting together this anthology?
The day of the book launch, Miss Cynthia had all of her mom was there, her nieces were there, her children were there, and her daughter introduced her. And the level of emotion and gratitude and appreciation that her children had for her son, Miss Cynthia was sharing about the experience with me, and her son was so like
Mhm.
grateful. He was like, he was like, I know it's not a lot of men in here, but we're here for you women. Like if y'all are going through something, let us know. Like they were just so
Yeah.
grateful to their mom that she had the courage to share these
Mm.
things. And they were like, just, it was like they was in awe. It's like they was looking at their mom, like how we all look at our mom, like you just super.
Right.
It was like,
Yes.
oh, that just like, I was like, wow.
Oh my gracious.
Yeah.
You as a visionary, I thank you. I do. I thank you. I don't know if I'm ready for such a thing. However, being part of an anthology, I took it very seriously. Even though you're contributing to a body of work,
Mhm.
your contribution, you don't realize if you don't take it seriously, it just causes a little ripple.
Yeah.
You know, it's still going to go on,
Mhm.
but the visionary has a vision, and you made a commitment.
Yeah.
And once you make that commitment, I am so happy these women were just so openly saying yes. And that, I guess, that's the simplest way I can say it, because from your description in the beginning, it was like they were pushing it, not you.
Right.
They were pushing it. And when other people push it, it's a product.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. And um I just, I will say, I do have one more question for you, but I will say this. It's just for you to be my first anthology, you have set the bar really high.
Wow.
And I'm because reading another anthology, I'm looking for that synergy, because I believe it should,
Yeah.
and not just be a body of work just bring monetary gain.
Yeah.
I really believe your foundation was, what can I do for someone's healing, someone's unmasking. That's what I got from this. And If that's not what it was supposed to do, I'm sorry, but that's what I got.
No, you know how you have an idea, but God exceeds it. He
Mhm.
exceeded it. So thank you so much for sharing that. Because again, you just never know the impact that you make on people when you
Yeah.
say yes to something. So thank
Mhm.
you so much. 'Cause this encourages me, and I'm gonna make sure I tell the ladies, listen
Please.
to this. Keep promoting and sharing. Everybody,
Yes.
and I think all of them talked about having their own projects, and so I'm gonna really encourage them. There's more. It's time for us to go ahead on and extract that out. So thank
Yes.
you so much for sharing it.
Oh, you are so welcome. I thank you for joining us today. Oh my goodness, I enjoyed this conversation. I
Me
really
too. Thank
did.
you.
Um, what I want to do is give you the opportunity to tell everyone before we close out, where can they pick this wonderful book up?
So, guys, you can go to prettyheal.com,
Okay.
and you'll see the books, you'll see the apparel there. You can
Okay.
see where you can book me to speak, but go to prettyheal.com and everything is there. When I started with just sharing my own story and having other people tell their story, I didn't understand it until one day I was hearing a woman of God talk about how God gave everybody different gifts, and
Mm-hmm.
the gift of healing that doesn't just come with laying on of hands. That could be emotional,
Mm.
spiritual healing. And I was like,
Yes.
God, that's it. That's it. So I help. I'm working in the gift of healing through verbal and written communication. So prettyheal.com,
Wonderful.
you can find all of the books there.
Okay, perfect. Y'all heard her. I have, like, y'all know when I leave out speeches, that means this was a good interview. But I wanted to I just I you know I just wanted to read this, and this comes from Crystal Rivera.
Mhm.
Um her section of her chapter, and it's just, like I said, it's just a little snippet, but I want to close this out with this because healing is so important. I talk about it all the time. I do. And it doesn't matter what the healing is from. Healing is healing, and it's needed. When you don't fully heal, you will notice that you again become a little bit more crushed than even the first time.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. And ladies, and then we have some gentlemen in the audience, but allowing yourself to back up and heal. Some healing may take a few months, some may take years. I always tell my story. It took 10 years. 10 years. And some people might say that's a long time, Leah. I know. But the point was, I wasn't being, and she said something. Simene said something in her writing. You have to be honest,
Yeah.
and you have to surround yourself with people. That honesty allows you to get through the tough stuff. You are the why. You are the why for your healing. If someone was to say, "Why are you doing that, girl? Why you don't want to go over there? Why you don't want to go to the club?" Yes, Aaliyah like to back it up like everybody else. But I wasn't coming home with just a lady. Let's keep it real. I was making bad choices when it came to relationships that put me a step back
Mhm.
because I wasn't being honest. And I did not see that I was my why. I was worth stepping back, not doing, saying no. Y'all know I talk about it even in my book. Saying no is so important. So I want to read this. Oh my goodness, before we go close out, because I'm telling I'm telling you, the book is good. This anthology is so good. But Crystal, this is on page 47. So when y'all purchase the book, y'all will be able to go to it. Y'all know that I'm really reading something. Page 47. I want my heart to reach your heart through compassion, empathy, and love. I'm hoping spirits would become awakened through self identification. Ultimately, the spirit of God's love would be an everlasting drink. Y'all, would they say, don't be thirsty?
Oh my goodness.
Don't be thirsty.
Yeah.
Before I just finalize this, Simene, do you have any last parting words for my listening audience?
I just want to say thank you so much, Miss Elaine.
You're
This has
welcome.
been a joy to do this with you. And for those of you that listening, just keep telling your story. The first person that you got to be honest with is yourself and God, and then forgive yourself for the things that you
Yes.
allowed. Forgive yourself for the things that you did, and then just keep going back to Him more and more and sharing it one by one, little by little. You don't have to do it on a major platform. You don't have to do it in a book, but you start small. Because I started small with one person, and then you keep telling it and you keep being confident and just sharing it, because really it's time for you to unmask the heal.
Oh, y'all, that's it. I don't have nothing else to say. Remember, sustainable habits inspire mindful transformation to help you get your shift right. Peace and blessings, ladies. Bye.
Bye.